Should black people get reparations?
I think there has to be some form of reparations, and we can discuss what that is.
What do you stand on some form of reparations for black people?
We have a history of racism in America.
So you are for some type of
Yes, I am.
reparation? Okay.
Yes, I am.
I am committed to passing a Green New Deal, creating clean jobs, and finally putting an end to fracking once and for all.
Mama Kamala just don't give a frack.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yes, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right?
So would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes, and I've, again, worked on that.
But how do you make sure that they don't do what they will try to do, which is immediately pass that on to consumers?
We have to monitor whether it's going to be passed on to consumers. But I'm going to tell you that should never be the reason not to actually put a fee, and in particular, carbon fee.
So will everyone have to drive electric cars?
Well, by my plan, by 2045, we will have basically zero emission vehicles only, 100%.
What week of pregnancy should abortion access be cut off?
We need to restore the protections of Roe versus Wade.
We're
not trying to do something new.
Why do you think it shouldn't be specific? You know, out in New Mexico, for example, the governor there says it shouldn't be nailed down to a week because it should be a private matter between a woman and her doctor. There shouldn't be a precise number put on that. Is that what you believe as well?
I believe that we should put the protections of Roe v. Wade into law.
For any drug where they fail to play by our rules, I will snatch their patent so that we will take over. And yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that.
I believe the solution, and I'm actually feel very strongly about this, is that we need to have Medicare for all.
And correct me if I'm wrong, to reiterate, you support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance,
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Biden saying there's no constitutional authority to issue that executive order when they say I'm going to eliminate assault weapons, saying you can't do it by executive order any more than Trump can do things when he says he can do it by executive order. Does the vice president have a point there?
Some things you can, many things you can't.
Let's let the senator answer.
Well, I mean, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying no, we can't, let's say yes, we can.
Let's be constitutional.
And I will ban by executive order the importation of assault weapons.
What would you do about the millions of, specifically, assault weapons that are already in circulation? What do you do about those?
Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. I do believe that we need to do buybacks. If by my 100th day in office, when elected President of the United States, the United States Congress fails to put a bill on my desk to sign with all of the good ideas or any of the good ideas, then I am prepared to take executive action because that's what's needed.
Can that be done by executive order?
Yes. Yes, it can. And just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
You know, these stand your ground laws and these states that have these citizen arrest laws have often and frequently been used as an excuse, if not a cover, for people who are motivated by racism and racial profiling.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that. I hear that.
Probably should not have said that.
But
my staff will deal with that later.
Yeah.
You know, what we need to do is also recognize that when you have these kinds of laws, like stand your ground laws, is that it helps to breed the legitimate distrust that so many communities have in the criminal justice system and in law enforcement.
It is wrong-headed thinking to think that the only way you're going to get communities to be safe is to put more police officers on the street.
And the intensity and the brilliance of that movement that forced at least that there would be some counterforce to the status quo. That's what these movements do.
that where these systems are so invested and ingrained in what they call tradition, these movements provide a counterforce to get us to where we need to be. Oh my gosh! They're not going to let up, and they should not, and we should not.
If you'd be so kind, raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross a border without documentation. Can we keep the hands up so we could see them?
I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
You support giving universal health care, Medicare for all, to people who are in this country illegally?
Let me just be very clear about this. I am opposed to any policy that would deny in our country any human being from access to public safety, public education, or public health, period.
I do not see a parallel between what is constitutionally mandated as it relates to enforcing the law.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
I see no.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
That puts ICE in the same category as the KKK.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
And when we all sing happy tunes and sing Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas, these children are not going to have a Merry Christmas. How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
I've been very clear. I think we should eliminate the filibuster and we need and get us to the point where 51 votes would be what we need. What I saw of that report last night, I believe, is, as a former prosecutor, the comments that were made by that prosecutor, gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate.
If it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway.
So the way that the president's demeanor in that report was characterized could not be more wrong on the facts and clearly politically motivated.
You know, the rapidly rising I don't know.
And so I will say that when it comes to the role and responsibility of a prosecutor in a situation like that, we should expect that there would be a higher level of integrity.
President Biden always said that he wants you to be the last person in the room, particularly for big decisions, just as he was for President Obama. He just made a really big decision. Afghanistan.
Yes.
That thousands of Afghans stormed the Kabul airport in a desperate attempt to flee the country. Some even clinging to a moving U.S. military aircraft as it rose into the sky and falling to their deaths.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
I think there's going to be plenty of time to analyze what has happened and what has taken place.
And as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy.
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.